So you're thinking about moving to Austin, Texas. I completely get it. You've probably seen everyone online showcasing the massive downtown skyline. Maybe it's the gourmet breakfast tacos, or perhaps your friends are bragging about the big savings they're going to have when it comes to the cost of living. What no one tells you though is that living here feels completely different than what you're seeing online. Things like, why does everyone in Austin act like a 30-minute drive to Lake Travis is some major expedition? And why does August in Austin feel like you're actually living inside a slow cooker? Also, how come grabbing breakfast tacos on Lamar suddenly costs more than a sit-down dinner? I'm making sure this video isn't some generic moving to Austin guide. It's going to be the real deal, showcasing what life actually feels like here in Austin after that honeymoon phase is over and once you're really settled into your daily routine. By the end of this video, you might actually decide to stay put, or you may be reaching out to us to ultimately help you narrow down the best spot for you here in Austin. Although I'm definitely going to tell you both the good and the bad about Austin, one of Austin's greatest secret weapons is one that no one talks about enough. This is location, location, location. Austin isn't just another Texas city. It's perfectly positioned in the heart of Texas, specifically the Hill Country, which means you're not just moving to a city, you're moving to an absolute lifestyle playground. We're talking rolling hills covered in wildflowers, spring-fed watering holes that stay 70 degrees year-round, and some of the most Instagram-worthy sunsets you've ever seen. But here's where it gets even better. This is Lake Travis. We're talking one of the largest lakes in Texas, stretching over 270 miles of shoreline right in your backyard. Weekend boating, cliff jumping at Devil's Cove, and lakeside dining with massive views. And really the best part, this isn't some far off vacation destination. It's literally 30 minutes from downtown Austin. And then there's the Hill Country wine scene. This is one of Austin's best kept secrets. Every weekend you can cruise through the winding country roads to places like Fredericksburg and Dripping Springs, which is also known as the wedding capital of Texas. This is where you're going to find wineries and craft distilleries that look like something out of a travel magazine. We're talking about places like Tito's, Garrison Brothers, or Salt Lick Barbecue with outdoor picnic tables under massive oak trees, and wine tastings where the biggest decision is ultimately whether to go with a red or a white. It's sort of like living in Napa, except the wine isn't nearly that good, but you have much better barbecue and I'd say friendlier people. Once you've moved to Austin, there's a moment, usually a few weeks after you're all settled in, where it really hits you. You're either standing in line at your new favorite coffee shop, maybe the state capitol dome catches that really nice morning light, or people are just cruising around you in their Austin outfits and it suddenly just clicks. Holy cow, my entire world just changed and I'm actually here in Austin. Here's the thing about living in Austin. Where you choose to plant your flag also shapes your lifestyle, and that's what makes this piece so important. So the first truth bomb that nobody really prepares you for is that the Austin Metro is like a collection of small towns separated by what I like to call proximity zones. People in Leander treat a trip to East Austin like they're crossing into a different time zone. If you're living in Bee Cave or Lakeway, the idea of going downtown on a Thursday afternoon can feel like quite a bit too much. To be clear, this is not at all because people are lazy or antisocial. It's because Austin's road system was designed many, many decades ago for a much smaller population. Many locals refer to I-35 as the parking lot, stretching from Georgetown all the way down south to San Marcos. This has been the case since I was a kid growing up in San Antonio though, so not much has changed in that regard. There's another one of our highways, Mopac, which I recently heard referred to as Mo-Pain because you can often expect to be sitting in traffic during rush hour, of course. The new toll lane along Mopac did actually help things a fair amount, but there's no way to completely avoid this. And remember, that is true for nearly every major city. And I can really speak to this because I was actually born and raised in Texas, and I've called Austin home for nearly 15 years. So what happens once people choose their spot within Austin is that this invisible lifestyle boundary is created, which is often based around drive time during normal hours. Your work, your HEB, that's our local grocery store, your gym, maybe your kid's school or that that breakfast taco truck that knows your order by heart. It all needs to fit inside this mental map, because the moment you start talking about crossing the city during those peak hours, it just doesn't happen. And here's why that really matters if you're moving to Austin. Where you decide to live isn't just about the square footage, school ratings, or even the address itself. It ultimately determines whether you're boating on Lake Travis every weekend, walking to the new restaurants right downtown, or even trying a new hill country spot on the regular. It completely shapes your lifestyle. Your Austin neighborhood becomes your bubble, and it will definitely influence the decisions you make and your level of enjoyment within the city. On that note, if finding the spot for you sounds like something you want to navigate with someone who actually knows these nuances inside and out, be sure to reach out to us. Whether you're drawn to Cedar Park's more suburban vibe, or maybe Dripping Springs' more rural charm, or perhaps downtown's more walkable energy, we can help you find the right spot. If this is your first time here, my name is Aubrey von Behren, and we help people buy, sell, and relocate throughout the entire Austin metro. All of our contact information is down below and pinned to the top of the comments. Now, once you figure out your Austin bubble, that's when the city really starts showing off its personality. Once you've locked into your specific Austin lifestyle zone, so to speak, mornings become the fun part. Depending on your neighborhood, your mornings will take on a completely different feel though, and that's something we want to make sure that we get right. In spots like Central, South, and East Austin, you definitely have that crowd hitting Lady Bird Lake Trail at sunrise. The earbuds are probably streaming anything from indie rock to those really popular business podcasts. And then they may stop by their favorite local coffee spot that knows their order by heart. And in the hill country, on the flip side, you have spots like Bee Cave and Lakeway. It's a completely different rhythm. Parents navigating their kids to school, maybe even hopping on Lake Travis for a morning kayak or even wake surfing session. And from there, you grab your coffee, you drive into North Austin or downtown to get your workday started. But here's the beautiful thing about Austin mornings. Even when they're hectic, there's this underlying rhythm that you start to catch. You learn exactly when to leave the house to avoid the worst Mopac travel times. You discover that one coffee shop that never has a line because it's tucked away where only the locals know. And you figure out which days you can run errands downtown without adding a wasted hour to your outing. Now, it's important to point out that if you're coming from larger cities, what I'm mentioning is absolutely nothing and likely laughable. If a bigger city is new to you, or maybe you have memories of what Austin once was, do not worry, you will absolutely crack the Austin code. I know precisely when I need to be on the road for a home tour in Westlake or downtown, and you will develop the same rhythm. It's more about enjoying the journey and where you ultimately choose to call home. So let me know in the comments, what's your ideal Austin morning vibe? Are you more of a Lady Bird Lake jogger catching that sunrise, or do you see yourself sipping coffee overlooking that really awesome hill country view? So drop a comment below and tell me which neighborhood sounds like more your speed. But let's really talk about what happens when the Austin morning rush dies down, because that's when I think Austin really starts to shine. Here's what most people don't realize about living in Austin. The tourist spots that everyone talks about are just the intro. The real show happens when you know where locals actually spend their time, and more importantly, when to show up. Everyone's heard about 6th Street, South by Southwest, and those Instagram famous spots that end up on every Visit Austin list. But if you're actually living here, you quickly learn that timing is everything, and some of these top list spots are ones that you really don't even visit day to day. Take 6th Street, for example. Friday and Saturday night, absolutely forget about it. You're looking at big crowds and a very rowdy atmosphere, to say it very kindly. But catch a comedy show at Joe Rogan's Mothership on a Tuesday night, and suddenly it's a much more mild crowd and much more enjoyable experience. Rainy Street and South Congress are the same story. Weekends bring the brunch crowd and tourists taking pictures for social media, but weekday mornings are a completely different feel. Now, here's another Austin superpower that nobody talks about enough. You can live like you're on vacation without that vacation budget. Austin is absolutely filled with experiences that feel premium, but cost basically nothing. And this has everything to do with its outdoor lifestyle. Zilker Park is like Austin's communal backyard. Skyline views, food trucks, live music randomly happening under the trees, and it's completely free. Of course, unless you can't resist that barbecue or those tacos calling your name around the corner. The boardwalk downtown gives you that Lady Bird Lake scene, and Barton Springs Pool right around the corner is 70-degree spring water year round where you can swim, lay out, or just people watch the eclectic Austin crowd doing their thing. But here's my favorite part about Austin. The city really seems to understand that life should also be fun. So you're constantly finding free events. Music in the park, pop-up art festivals, food festivals, and so much more all throughout the city. Like I said, Austin also has its cons. There are some realities that come with living in Austin that nobody mentions in these top 10 lists. So you've picked your Austin bubble, you're living your best hill country life, and you've mastered the art of the perfect Lady Bird Lake sunset photo. But here's what nobody prepares you for. Austin comes with its own unique brand of surprises, some frustrating, some absolutely incredible, but all part of that authentic Austin experience. First, let's talk about the heat and humidity situation. This isn't the dry desert heat like what you'll find in spots like Arizona or Nevada, but it's also not the humidity you're going to find in East Texas or even Florida. Texas does get hot though, and some people just cannot handle it. By August, going outside is definitely planned around air conditioning checkpoints, pools, and our really nice lakes, of course. I was born and raised in Texas, went to college in Arizona, so I've been around some hot heat, but in my opinion, living here is absolutely manageable in the hotter months. But if you're not used to something like that, it may take a little bit of getting used to. Then there's cedar fever allergies, which sounds made up until it hits you like a freight train if you have allergies. You might find yourself suddenly learning about pollen counts and allergy forecasts if you suffer from allergies. Thankfully, this has never impacted me, but it does happen. So many people move to Austin thinking they'll become part of the legendary music scene, then quickly realize that most of the good shows start at 10 p.m. or later on random weekdays when you have work the next morning. But here's the thing, people figure it out. You start planning your outdoor adventures before 10 a.m. You find your favorite allergy medication, and you learn that sometimes the best music happens at Sunday afternoon food truck gatherings when you least expect it. Let's not forget about property taxes. We love bragging about no state income tax, but when that property tax bill shows up, it is really not fun. But flip that coin and you'll find all of the surprises that make these challenges worth it. Spontaneous Tuesday nights when you end up at a nice restaurant, there's live music that absolutely blows your mind. Or maybe it's that Friday afternoon text from your friend that says, Lake Travis boating day this weekend, are you in? And suddenly you're spending the weekend wake surfing or catching a really awesome sunset cruise. Austin definitely has its quirks, but it's absolutely packed with moments that really sneak up on you and make you think, yeah, this is exactly where I belong. And this is the Austin lifestyle that real estate photos cannot capture and travel websites just don't understand. It's about living somewhere that makes you feel like you're on vacation, even during the regular weekends. Now, let's talk about the big question everybody asks. Where should I actually live in Austin? And here's the thing. If you're researching from out of state, you're probably seeing the same handful of neighborhoods over and over. These might be downtown high-rises, South Austin contemporary new builds, or spots right in the center of the city that are super nice, but don't offer as much value as what you might be able to find elsewhere throughout the metro. Those places are absolutely great for some people, but that's roughly 20% of the Austin story. Once you're actually living here, you realize every neighborhood has its own personality. If you're single, you love walkable nightlife, and want to be able to Uber easily from amazing restaurants, then being near downtown might be your cup of tea. You'll pay premium prices for a premium location, but you'll have great restaurants, music, and of course, Lady Bird Lake Trail basically in your backyard. But maybe your ideal Saturday actually involves barbecuing with neighbors followed by Sunday on the lake. Lakeway, Bee Cave, and other Lake Travis hotspots might actually be the spot for you. Bigger houses, newer homes, schools that parents actually brag about, and you're still close enough to downtown when the mood strikes. That's actually where I've chosen to call home for the last nearly 15 years. Maybe you're looking for peace and quiet and enough space for that home office setup that you've been wanting for a long time. Cedar Park, Leander, and areas of Georgetown give you that room to breathe, bigger yards for weekend projects, and you can still get into Austin when you want that city energy. And here's the financial reality check. Yes, Texas doesn't have state income tax, and the overall cost of living is lower than in most places, but property taxes and those mud and PID fees can definitely sneak up on you. Always do your homework and be sure to connect with us so we can point you in the right direction. But here's the reality. Each of these areas works perfectly for someone, but likely not all of them will work for you. And that's exactly where having local expertise makes all the difference. If you're considering making a move to Austin, don't try to figure this out alone from Google searches and Zillow. Reach out to us through the information below because we would love to help you find the perfect fit for your lifestyle and budget. So here's what happens a few months after you make Austin home. At first, everything feels new and slightly overwhelming, of course. You're learning the inner workings of the highways, scouting your new favorite coffee shop, and finding which breakfast taco places are worth the wait. But then one unexpected evening, you're driving home with the windows down, that downtown skyline is in the distance, and it hits you. Wow, I actually live where most people just visit. Austin stops being this place where you moved, and instead it becomes the place where you're actually rooted. And it's not just about the big events like ACL or South by Southwest. It's those random moments that make you fall in love with this place over and over again. Catching those incredible sunsets over Lady Bird Lake while you're sitting in Mopac traffic and somehow not even minding that you're sitting in traffic because the view is so good. Maybe you've popped into a neighborhood music venue where someone's playing acoustic versions of the songs you forgot you loved. Sitting on a patio in January wearing shorts and a t-shirt while texting your friends up north who are dealing with snow and ice storms. The list goes on and on. Austin isn't perfect, no place is, but it's remarkably easy to love once you're here and actually living the lifestyle instead of just visiting. And that's when you find yourself thinking, yeah, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. So let me know in the comments, are you feeling like Austin might actually be the spot for you? Maybe you're still in that exploratory phase, trying to picture what life could look like for you here in Austin. On that note, be sure to download one of our helpful guides in the description below. If Austin is calling your name and you're ready to take that next step, just reach out. Whether you're a year out or ready to start looking at houses tomorrow, we're here to help you figure out the perfect neighborhood for your lifestyle and navigate all of those Texas curveballs that we talked about. If you're not quite sure yet, keep hanging out here on the channel and be sure to explore my neighborhood deep dives with tons of content that will ultimately help you picture exactly how your Austin life could look. And the best part, you can binge watch it all right here and get that real Austin insider perspective. Until next time.